Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 268. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my co-host, Mike. It's
Hey,
popping, Mike.
everybody. Hey, what's going on? I'm here for the interview this week. Just want to give a round of applause to Chris here for handling the Derek Robertson interview last week. He did me proud. You mentioned the chin of justice. That's all I could ask for. No, but I'm glad to
Called
be
him
here.
the wrong name at one point, it's all good.
It's all good. He got over it. And shout out to Derek for doing an interview where he was still half sick. So I appreciate that.
Not to overshadow this week's guest, because awesome guest this week. But yeah, Derek's good people, and I love talking with him.
And this
we might
week's
be doing
guest,
it again soon, everybody.
Oh, soon. Yeah. This week's guest is just as great, just as good of a person. Seth Levinson is on today. We're going to talk about his wacky book, Origamiac. So stay tuned to listen about that and hear what he's doing. I know this isn't in the notes. I'm going off the script here, Chris. Whoa, we don't have a script.
No.
I'm just messing with everybody.
Can't go off script.
I can't go off script. I recently, so I was like waiting around on, I don't know, Saturday to do something. So I'm like, all right, let me throw HBO on, and then, recommendations pop up. The Blade trilogy, obviously HBO understands me. So I put Blade #1 on. I think it's just called Blade. Blade #1. Hands down, one of the best, like, first scenes of any movie. If anybody remembers, they're like the vampires. So this is like Stan Lee's name is attached to this movie. Okay.
Yep.
It rolls in the beginning credits, and there's a point, I think it's like 20 minutes, and I was laughing my ass off. There's so many great moments in this movie, and like there's a part where Wesley Snipes says, like, "Motherfucker, do you know who I am?" Like, this is a Marvel movie. I think the cops like shoot him, and like it doesn't do anything to him, and he says that to them. It's like, I'm like, this movie is gold. But there's an amazing scene, and I'm glad I rewatched it, because the amazing nightclub scene is like, they shut down like this meat factory, and they start spraying the blood from the sprinklers, and they're like, and then he starts like killing all the vampires and stuff like that. And Blade, like, he sets a guy on fire, and then the like firemen and the cops show up, so he has to like dip out, and they walk in on this scene of like, dead bodies everywhere, and this dude on fire, and the firemen are standing there, and like there's the chief and then the guys with like the fire extinguishers, and they're kind of just standing there, and they look at the chief, and the chief goes, "Put him out." And then they walk up and start spraying the guy. And I sat there, I'm like, did they have to wait for the fire chief to tell them to put the guy who's burning alive out? I was like, these are the worst firefighters. So hold on, they walked into the room, they saw a human being on fire. The dude has the fire extinguisher in his hand, and he looks to the chief, and the chief gives him the okay to put him out. I'm like, what?
You gotta make sure the boss is cool with it, man.
Yeah, they have to be even more incompetent than the Gotham City Police Department and catching villains. Is the I think it takes place in New York City. New York City, the depicted Marvel Universe New York City Fire Department on putting out fires. My God, it's awesome. And there's a lot of like cool little treasures like that in the movie that it's like, and then Stan Lee's name at the front really just made me so happy that I'm like, he didn't back down from this.
That's like one of my first vampire movies too. That's such a good movie.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
Have we ever talked about the original concept for Blade Trinity?
No, but that's the one, and I completely forgot it had Ryan Reynolds in it with the awful facial hair. But no, what was the concept?
So the idea was that the vampires won. They took over the world. So it was Blade versus Dracula, like going through his army, trying to kill Dracula.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell you for the life of me what that movie is today, but
no, it's not,
because I saw it once, and that was one too many times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that would have been so cool.
Yeah, the first two are good. But it's and it's like the Matrix with vampires, because the trench coat, the totally 90s like synthesizer music and like techno playing during the fight scenes. Awesome.
I'm stoked for Blade to come back. Like, I'm
Yeah.
really
Oh
excited
yeah.
for it.
We don't have Stranger Things on here. Have you? I can't remember if you ever watched it or caught up on it.
I never caught up on it, so
Okay.
I'm fine if you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's on my list. I've been talking about it for like 3 weeks now. I gotta re up my Netflix because that came out. Umbrella Academy. When that comes out, I guarantee you I'll re up my Netflix because that's
Hmm.
gonna be a day one watch.
I won't.
And not in our wheelhouse, but Space Force season 2 came out, and I've
Oh
been wanting to
yeah.
watch that too.
Yeah. Steve Carell is amazing.
Yeah.
I will say this. So like overall, I'm not going to spoil Stranger Things for anybody here. Um, the villain, I will say. So I don't know. You notice this every season has a villain, and they tie the villain to like a D&D character.
Hmm.
And I was so proud of myself because I like opened up the my D&D monster manual and I went straight to the Lich, the like undead wizard, because that's what this villain is this year, and it is probably the coolest like depiction of a lich as far as like the powers of a lich in D&D and how it relates to like what's going on in Stranger Things. But they have a whole nother name for him and stuff. So the way they did it is they split the season. There's 7 episodes, and then the last 2 episodes are like over 2 hours long. Every episode is over like an hour long. It's like an hour and 15 for the 7 episodes. Heavy
Damn.
episodes. They This might be one of my favorite seasons because they go into this season full like horror mode. By the end of the first episode, you're like, wow, this is like not a show for kids. Just between like the gruesome like death scenes and like the horror aspect of it, um, and how it kind of ties to what happens in the town. And then I've heard that the next season, season 5, will be the last, which I think it's good because like this season was really good. I hope it has a strong finish and then kind of like resolving all the issues in 5. I really loved it. Binged through it, but I mean, it was really good. But there is a lot of like D&D talk and stuff like that. So like they've added a new character that's really involved in D&D. So like there's all the talk about like, D&D's devil worshippers and all this stuff. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I heard Satanic Panic is in this as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
heavily talked about, which I think is pretty great. Because that was a thing in the 80s, Uh yeah.
So
But
I was reading the thing before we get into Star Wars
mhm,
about the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie.
yeah.
And so the original draft of that movie, since it's a Disney movie, apparently the writers had to use only Disney characters for the cameos.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until later on they were able to like bring all these other ones in.
Hmm.
So this has been widely spoiled, and I don't think it's that big of a spoiler because it's in the first 10 minutes of the movie. But the ugly Sonic is in the movie, like the
Yeah.
original Sonic from. And apparently, when that was written to be Jar Jar Binks.
Oh my god.
And I almost wonder which one's better. Like once you
Yeah,
watch it,
like
you'll
what?
understand because of
Yeah.
how Ugly Sonic fits into the story. But like
Hmm.
to anyone that's watched that's not something that's in my head. Like replacing Jar Jar with Sonic and that.
It needs to
I just wanted to
happen.
bring that up. That was a cool little read I had.
That's awesome. I still need to watch that. Yeah, so I guess we'll jump into the TV news. But yeah, Stranger Things. I didn't know what to expect this season because all the delays and the reshoots and all that stuff. You try to keep like you try to be hopeful for these things, but I really enjoyed it. So
Good. I look forward
and I
to
know
watching
why
it one
every
day.
episode's over an hour and 15 minutes. They really do they really like a lot of the scenes are slow motion. Like they're really heavy dramatic scenes, but they use a lot of slow motion. It's like a Zack Snyder movie. Um, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Okay, so we do have some Star Wars news for TV before we talk about Obi-Wan. Um, there's more news from the Star Wars Celebration that happened last week. It's a new animated series titled Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I don't know why I said that like Emperor Palpatine Jedi. Um, Tales will feature one-shot stories about different Force-sensitive characters from across the Star Wars mythos, including Ahsoka, Anakin Skywalker, Mace Windu, Count Dooku, and Qui-Gon Jinn, which will be voiced by Liam Neeson, and his first officially announced Star Wars project since Episode 1. You know what else he could voice? A Force Ghost that hopefully we could see coming up in a TV show very shortly.
I wrote that very specifically because I'm still convinced he shows up in Obi-Wan.
Oh, he has to. They tease us every episode, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an old comic series
Okay.
from Dark Horse.
Yeah.
And it's one I really liked because, I mean, this is all like prequel characters.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they keep doing it and they like expand it. But like the comic would like one issue would be, random character from 1,000 years before anything, and then like a character from this point. And it would be all these random like Jedi characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool because you got to see all these different versions and everything. So hopefully they do more of that. But I'm down for all these characters, like especially Mace Windu, more Mace Windu all the time.
And how do you not like Samuel L. Jackson's got to come back for that? He's got to voice that. I hope so. Also shown was a new trailer for Bad Batch Season 2. It's going to come out on September 28th.
Just in time for my birthday, Mike.
Yeah, it really is. What do you think? Did you like the trailer?
I dug it. Palpatine's in it. There's some cool action moments. There's a Wookiee with a lightsaber.
Hell yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things to like.
Yeah.
And I like that first season, so I'm down for this.
Marvel released a new poster for I Am Groot with a release date of August 10th. Forgot this was happening, so excited about that.
Same here. I didn't even know they were like working on it.
Yeah, they're like shorts, right?
I think it's a short. I think it's one short like animated thing.
Oh, okay.
But James Gunn is involved in some way. Like,
yeah, he is.
Because he's involved with everything Guardians.
Mm-hmm. So
that'd
be cool.
I'll watch.
Okay, ObiWan 3. Let's talk about it. ObiWan Episode 3. Where do we start? There's a lot of cool lightsaber waving in this episode. I'm not saying that jokingly. It was pretty fucking awesome. We get the confrontation of Obi-Wan and Vader with like Obi-Wan running away from him. We see Vader being completely menacing, like snapping people's necks, like killing people with the Force, just random bystanders, which is what you want to see Vader doing, right? And like Obi-Wan witnessing that is like, holy shit, this guy's full blown gone. Like, he really like this is the dark side. Like, I hope that like seeing that he also understands that like that was no way in turn his fault, because it's more of the dark side than him. You know what I mean? Because like there's no way anything he could have done could have stopped him from being that evil or like pushed him to that, but what a terrible way for him to witness that.
I think so. Going into this, I think he went into isolation upset that he killed his friend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing that snaps him out of it, I believe, because this is the first time he uses a lightsaber. The first time he uses the Force, but this is the first time he pulls out a saber. I liked seeing Vader just going through town and mercifully killing everything. Like just snapping necks, choking people with no care for their lives. Like that's Vader.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen that Vader in live action, and I'm glad it's happening. So
a little bit in Rogue One, right?
You saw him like wield his lightsaber in Rogue One. Yeah. I'll get that. But like you didn't see him just being the complete dark, evil character that he is.
Yeah.
And I know some people were. It's funny to me because I saw some people like, this isn't Vader. It's like, that's because all you did was you've never seen anything besides the movies.
Right. Yeah. Because that's all there is like him walking towards people in all the movies.
So I really like that. I liked that it kind of culminated with the fight between the two, and it kind of going the other way where Vader is now the superior force sensitive person, and dragging him through the fire. Obviously, it's Star Wars, so it rhymes.
Yeah, right.
Everything there was great. I love that whole sequence. I don't believe it was too soon for him to pop up. I
Hmm.
think it's fucking Star Wars. Like, I think people are overthinking Star Wars. Like,
Yeah,
Star Wars is fan service, and like this is what you should do with Star Wars, in my opinion.
right,
Like,
right.
you should do fun stuff. Like,
Why would you not do what the fans want?
yeah, like if you want to do that
Yeah.
thing where like it's the menacing guy in the background, like do that somewhere else. And
Hmm.
maybe it's better. I don't maybe, but like this is Star Wars. Like I want to see fucking Vader be badass and I want to see lightsabers. Like
We might get a Vader TV show out of this. I mean,
which would
they've
be
done so many
awesome.
great comics. Like, even if it's just like, I mean, we have a whole season coming up of the Mandalorian with the dark saber. Like, why can't we have a whole season of Vader finding his saber? Right? That was that Kieran Gillian's run of like
Hmm.
his of like just Vader finding his lightsaber. uh, yeah,
Him building the castle, him like
yeah.
you could introduce Dr. Aphra through
Hmm.
that storyline. Like there's so many things you could
Right,
do. By the
right.
way, I know the castles happened before.
Hmm.
It still was super fucking cool to see it in live action again.
Yeah, it was
Like,
pretty cool. Yeah,
and
yeah,
him on the throne, like talking, I was like, oh
yeah.
yes.
You're like, yes. A few things. I don't know. I could be wrong here. Someone could correct me, but I think it was one of our first female like Empire officers, which is pretty cool to see, right? Um, I think that's who. Isn't that who like comes up and talks to Vader as like one of the generals or officers? Maybe I've they did on that in the new movies. I can't remember, but
I'm trying to think. It might be you might be correct in live action.
yeah.
I know
Hmm.
there's been female in the extended universe.
And then another important thing in this episode is there's someone that's part of the Empire that's like, whoa, this is pretty fucked up, and is a turncoat helping the rebels with this like almost like underground railroad style setup of like funneling people, that are part of the rebellion away from the Empire. And there's some like, as they're in this like storage area, they see some writing on the wall, and it says something about the way. Um, and so I don't know if that's it has to be a reference to Mandalorian, right? This is the way. I was like, does this mean he's going to show up and it's going to be 2 episodes of Mandalorian? Like, what's going to happen next? No, but I thought that was a cool like nod of like, okay,
Yeah.
he's been here before, or some Mandalorian has been here before, transporting a Jedi. So I mean, it could be possible. But yeah, go ahead.
I was also gonna say I like the inscribing of the other Jedi on the wall,
Hmm.
and them like mentioning it as if we should know it. Now
Right.
I'm somewhat familiar with that. Like I know the name. I couldn't
Hmm.
pull his history off the top of my head. I'm not that much of a nerd, but
Yeah, you're a nerd.
I know he exists somewhere else. But like I like
Hmm.
that they just like said it like, oh, it's so and so, like he was here, and then just move on from it. Like
Yeah.
it builds. That's world building for me. Like that's kind of like in the original movies when they talked about the Clone Wars and then just like
Hmm.
moved on from it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, yeah,
Exactly.
this is the
Yeah.
thing that happened. Moving on.
Yeah. The Clone
Like,
Wars. Oh, okay. Yeah. Overall, great episode. I can't wait to see the rest. I think they're doing a great job. Just the visual of the lightsabers, in the dark is pretty awesome. So,
yeah. Uh, Leia was fantastic in this episode,
mhm.
and
Yeah, she's great.
the way it ends was good. I mean, it was a good cliffhanger.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So I can't wait to watch the next one.
Oh yeah.
We Another great series came out Friday. The Boys season 3, episodes 1 through 3. So okay, I've only watched episode 1. You've watched all 3 episodes. I mean, no spoilers. Well, I mean, there probably isn't many spoilers afar from character deaths in this show. I will say just about episode 1, I like where all the characters are. We get a brief overview of where everybody is. It's been a year since the incidents. Huey's now working with like the anti superhero division of the FBI. I think that's pretty cool. Um, the, when you thought they couldn't like outdo the gruesomeness and over the topness of the last season, um, I mean, it's I don't like.
They got some money this season.
Yeah. The special effects are ridiculous. I can't even like the first 15 minutes, and I was texting people when I watched it. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't know how this got made. I don't know how this is allowed to be put on like an actual show. Probably because Amazon just controls their whole media outlet for these shows. But that the scene, and I know everybody knows what I'm talking about if you've seen it, where basically like the Atom character tears apart uh, like his boyfriend.
Yeah, it was an interesting scene to say the least.
Yeah. Just when he thought it couldn't get worse, like it just kept going and getting worse and getting worse, um and they really didn't hold back. But I think overall, yeah, it was over the top. It was ridiculous. All the characters are where you expect them to be. Homelander is absolutely terrifying this season. I'm just waiting for him to like lose his shit completely. Whether it's the first episode or in the first three, I have no idea. But I know we talked about it when we saw the trailer. But his eyes are like he's got the crazy eyes. Like he's going off the deep end.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Yeah, I figured.
I'll say I like so far in this season, we get more of an idea that like these superheroes they feel above the law and are a little
Mm-hmm.
fucked up in the head.
Yep.
And it gives more credence to why they need to be kept under like check.
Yep.
Like the first two seasons were really good and they did some things, but like they go over the top with the debauchery in this season so far.
Right.
And we haven't even gotten Herogasm yet.
I know. That's what I was thinking too.
So I really enjoyed the first three episodes. I think the third episode is the tamest, but the most terrifying.
Okay.
And it all comes back to those eyes. And yeah, I also did not see how they're using Soldier Boy, at least so far. I did not expect to be the way they used him.
Okay.
I thought he would be more an integral part of the A plot. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I'm really really enjoying it. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably have the other two watch this week. But yeah, I mean, they kind of set up like why they need Soldier Boy in the first one. In the first episode, they talk about the 24-hour Compound B. I will say this: in the first episode, there's a moment where they're talking with Starlight and oh man, I don't know the actor's name, but I know Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad. He basically tells
Gus.
Gus. Yeah, he tells poor guy. That's all he'll ever be known as now. Because he's in Star Wars too. I mean, this guy's all over the place, and he's great in whatever he does. But he tells Homelander to leave the room, and she's like, he can hear you outside the room. He's like, I don't care. He's like, that's not real power. And I'm like, the balls on this guy, like, not actually. And like, Homelander kind of bends and listens to him, but then like Homelander going to Butcher and being like, listen, you don't want to be stuck in this apartment not getting what you want. He's like, you want to battle me to the death, right? Like that's what we want, and that's what you want to get, right? And that's kind of how he like, gets him out of retirement.
Yeah. Did you? I can't remember what happened or like where this happened, but did you get to the Inclusion Land part?
No, I don't. I don't think that was episode 1.
Okay, it must be episode 2. All I'll say is they take a direct shot at basically Disney, but like just corporations as a whole.
Oh.
And it's phenomenal.
Okay.
When you get to aside from this podcast, Mike, when you get to it, just text me because I want to know your reaction to it. Because there's like, if you look at the background, the things that they set up in the background are just superb. And
Okay.
anyone listening, do the same thing because it's awesome.
Yeah,
It made me laugh every time it
that's
passed by
awesome.
like one of these stands.
And I did see Derek Robertson's art in the first episode. Shout out to the Dawn of the Seven movie poster in the background. At least it did look like his art. So
Yeah. Oh,
um,
and shout out for them taking shots at the Snyder Cut.
yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah, that was funny. Yeah, so that's great, and we're gonna jump to this awesome interview we have with Mr. Seth Levins, and we'll see everybody on the other side.
And we're back on the other side.
Here's the other side. Yeah, so go to Amazon, check it out. If you're in Madison, Wisconsin, you can also purchase it in store. So that's always the option before Amazon, I'd say. So yeah,
If you are in Madison, Wisconsin, you buy this book because of this interview, like tweet me or something,
yeah,
because that'd
tweet
be
at
fucking
us. That'd be
awesome.
cool. Yeah, maybe you get a shout out on the show, or I don't know, something. That's the easiest thing we could do. But yeah, tweet at us. Comic news. So this is a little sad for me, but also I'm just still glad we're getting it. Previously announced Fantastic Four Full Circle, helmed by Alex Ross, has now released month of September. A little bit delayed, right? To what it was
I don't know if it
previously.
ever got a release date.
Or they just said this summer or something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so I know. Listen, Alex can take all the time he needs. He's I can't imagine that he's the fastest artist, just how much detail he puts in everything. So let him, and I'm sure that's what Marvel said. Like, you do you, man. You tell us when it's going to be finished. Like, you don't have
When
a
it's
deadline.
done, we'll publish it.
Yeah, and
It's
we'll
all
make
good.
all the bucks. I'm
This is
so
the first
excited for
time
that.
I can say legitimately outside of like, I'm happy that David's doing his 2 issues at Fantastic Four, and I'll read those. I'm excited
Right.
for those. But this is the first time, like outside of that, I'm legitimately excited for like a Fantastic Four thing.
Okay. Nice.
Like to the point where it's like probably going to be like my top thing to read that week.
Mm-hmm. It would be a great year to get people into Fantastic Four if they're gonna like do something with it in the Marvel universe.
Still looking for that director.
Mm-hmm. Marvel has announced 2 new Star Wars comics to join the lineup this fall. The first series is called Star Wars Yoda. I wonder who it's about. It will be the first Marvel-led Yoda solo series written by Kevin Scott and art by Nico Leone. We know Kevin's been doing some great stuff with Star Wars. The series will be
Correct.
similar to recent Obi-Wan series. It'll show Yoda after the events of Episode 3, reminiscing about past adventures. Sure. Sounds cool.
Down for that. There's a lot more time to mine there too. There's like hundreds of years to mine.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah. And I'm surprised. I mean, who knows? They might time it with something live action or, animated series. The other series called Star Wars The High Republic, The Blade, written by Charles Soule, art by Marco Castiello. The series will follow Porter Engle, a cook at a Jedi outpost who is known as the Blade of Bardo. Sounds awesome. I don't know.
I hope it's just a cooking book and we just get recipes in it.
Yeah,
That'd
crazy,
be
weird
awesome.
alien recipes. Yeah.
Dude, I'll make them all. I'll do videos of all of them.
Oh
If
my God,
that
yes.
is what it is.
Yes, please. I think that's a cool concept. Yeah, this is pretty shocking news. Longtime Marvel artist, and he's the CCO, the Chief Creative Officer, Joe Quesada, has left Marvel Comics. Joe is part of the team that did the whole Marvel Nights, made them a huge success. Artist for the Kevin Smith Daredevil series that launched the brand. Joe stated that he has done a bunch at Marvel to be proud of, but seeks to go back to creating his own properties, and even hints at making movies as a possible future. But we know that he was really involved with like a lot of the direction for like Spider-Man too, I would think, right? And a few other characters at Marvel. So,
Yeah, for like everything, but like he's credited for like Brand New Day and a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's been doing covers for a little while. Like he still draws. He actually has like a cover coming out for a DC book soon. And that kind of got people talking, like, why is a Marvel higher up doing a DC cover?
Right.
Here's why.
There you go.
I'll just say there isn't a Marvel that I know without Joe Quesada involved.
Mm-hmm.
So it is an end of an era for me where like that Daredevil run is an important run for me. Like that's something that helped me get into the space, and
Right.
I've always enjoyed Joe's art. I kind of hope he goes back to doing interior art. I don't know if I'll count on that. Like Joe's a very rich man, I assume, and probably has a lot of friends that he could do stuff with. But
Yeah.
I'd be down if he like decided tomorrow, like I'm gonna do my Kickstarter book. I'd be like going for it right now. Like I'm down for Joe doing interiors. But he had like almost 30, 40 years at Marvel. So
Yeah. Yep. He did. So I mean, he wants to do his own thing now. He's definitely in a financially stable part of his life where he could do it. So why not?
and he's earned it. He's earned
Yeah, he's
the
definitely
right to
earned
go
it.
back and do that.
Also, we get a new, fresh take on the direction of Marvel, which isn't always a bad thing.
I wonder
Um,
how much of this is the Kevin Feige of it all, because I don't know if you remember, like Feige kind of took over helming Marvel Comics as well.
yeah.
So
Who knows? He
I'll be
just
interested
handed it
to hear
off.
the behind the scenes in like 2 years when his NDA runs out.
Yeah. 2 to 3 years. Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics has announced they're publishing a 5-issue anthology series based on the cult classic horror show Creepshow. Some of the names involved in the project include Paul Dini, Chris Burnham, Steve Fox, many more. Love Chris Burnham's art. Uh, I love horror anthologies, so I'll definitely be picking this up. Say no more. That's all I really needed to hear about that. But that's exciting. I will be checking it out.
Yeah, not the biggest Creepshow fan, but it was big news, especially going to Image.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
they probably bought the licensing for that.
Well, yeah, Kirkman spent that Walking Dead money.
Yeah, he probably still has some left over, I would assume.
I would hope.
Uh, what did we read this week, Chris? I read just a few comics. I'm a little behind here, but it's like last week I read so many. This week I read a couple. Uh, Hulk #7, was that last week? I think, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I actually just read it this week too. So
Okay. That last page, man. And I don't think Thor 26 has come out yet. So this continues the whole like Thor versus Hulk fight that Tony Stark shows up in an old Celestial that he's turned into Iron Man armor, which is awesome. Uh, absolutely awesome. So now there's 3 people involved in the fight. Martin Coccolo's art is absolutely amazing, hands down, and Matt Wilson on the colors too, between like the like dark purples and blues and the like red hot fire from like the fights and stuff. It's awesome. And then like Thor and Tony are talking together. Like Thor's like you need to stay out of this fight. Um, and the problem is that the Hulk doesn't know he's not in a simulation. Like Bruce Banner's trying to like explain that to them while they keep fighting him. Uh, and then Odin gets involved again, and kind of like takes like a form, like a physical form with the hammer, and like slams it down on Hulk. And then Hulk suddenly gets a new power. He gets like gamma vision, gamma ray vision, like heat vision with his eyes, and like blasts the hole through Odin, which is pretty crazy. And then
which was a fun moment.
yeah, so he has like Mjolnir, or I guess it's not Mjolnir anymore, right? Is it still that?
It still is Milner.
Okay, is like on top of Hulk, and he's pissed off. So he pretty much like he lets out so much energy that he gives off like a gamma bomb, and it was like the force of 3,000 gamma bombs to be exact. And it's just Tony Stark there, like, okay, what happened? And then all of a sudden, Thor Thor is now Hulk. So they've like combined from the blast, and the last panel is like a giant Hulk with the blonde hair and like the cape and everything, and it says Thor Smash. This this series has been wild. I can't wait to buy the trade of this and have it on my shelf because this is so much fun. I absolutely love
It's
this
been
book.
really good.
Yeah.
I love the heat vision moment because like they're like Did has Hulk ever been able to shoot lasers out of his eyes? Like, no, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
yeah, I
Well,
don't
he's
think
doing
so.
it now.
He just did. Yeah, so that was really cool. Okay, and I had Justice League Road to Dark Crisis #1. This kind of gives you a glimpse of all different heroes and where they're at before the Dark Crisis happens. So we have a whole slew of team up people. We have Joshua Williamson, Dan Jurgens, uh, Jeremy Adams, Rosie Camp, Chuck Brown, Fico Osio, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Leia Del Duca, Stephanie Phillips. Yo, what up, Stephanie? Clayton Henry, and a lot of different cover artists and variant covers and stuff. We get an overview of like where the heroes are since the Justice League died. So you have the Flash. The Flash is the first story about. So this is Wally West Flash, right? Yes, yeah. Wally West Flash with the family involved and like talking about how to carry on after Barry's gone. So there's not really anything like nothing really crazy comes out of this. It's just like Wally carrying on as the Flash. Like I think it was just establishing, okay, he's going to be our main Flash right now, and he goes to run and take on some of it.
He's the main Flash in the Flash book too.
Yeah, so,
we just don't read Flash, so
we just don't read Flash. So I think that's kind of like what they're trying to catch us up on. The Green Lantern story was pretty sick. The art was amazing. He's fighting some creature in space that he actually needs help with, and he gets the help of the new Aquaman. I guess he is calling himself Aquaman now.
yes.
And I don't remember his name. I don't know if you're reading
Jackson Hyde.
Jackson Hyde, thanks. And it's like a team up between Green Lantern and him, and how they defeat this alien. And then they're kind of like, Green Lantern's like, hey, you're gonna have to step it up because we all need your help. And he's like, I'm ready. So he's like, okay, he's our new Aquaman. I think they're setting up our new Justice League, right? So, and then we get this whole scene of before the fall of the Justice League. So we have Pariah like having these people come and visit him and give him visions of like how he can save. He needs to build the machine that like destroys the world that also saves the world. I don't really understand this whole decision yet. Like whatever's trying to guide him is telling him the multiverse is in danger. He can only save it.
It's the original Crisis.
Yeah, so that's going to be tied to this somehow, right? Because he's like, my great darkness, this time I'll save the world, my great darkness. And he kind of, you can see that he's being poisoned by the darkness. There's an old story in Gotham that involves Stephanie Kane, but they're still calling her Spoiler, right? Was that her name?
I thought they called her Batgirl in this, but I could be wrong.
Oh yes, Batgirl here. Yeah, they do call her Batgirl. Okay, so Stephanie Kane is Batgirl, which is cool because I do like Stephanie Kane. And then it establishes that like Firefly is working with a bunch of villains, and this whole thing is not just happening in Gotham. Like villains are teaming up everywhere. So there's a whole like rogues gallery at the last issue of a bunch of like Flash villains, Batman villains, just a bunch of different people's rogues galleries. And then it says to be continued Dark Crisis 1. So it's like a stepping point in all the stories for it.
So most importantly, Firefly is working with Gentleman Ghost, the best of all those villains.
Yep, I do see Gentleman Ghost back there. Yeah, that's a pretty cool shot. I think that's Kite Man with a mustache.
I think Vigilante's in there.
Yep. And oh my god, Peacock. How did I miss that? Peacock is in the middle from Grant Morrison's run.
It's all like B and C list villains. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll
It is
say
really awesome.
personally, the only story I enjoyed was the Pariah one.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. The rest
That
were
was
kind
good.
of meh for me.
Yeah.
Um,
They didn't tell
and
you
if
a whole
anyone out
lot.
there is thinking about getting this because they think it's going to have something that's going to be important for Dark Crisis, I don't feel like anything in here was super important. Being
Mm.
somebody that hasn't read Dark Crisis yet, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like anything
Right.
in here was like so important you had to get it.
Yeah, especially if you were reading the Justice League and everything beforehand, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, I just get the feeling, like you said, this is setting up who's going to be our new Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of maybe one or two additional characters, but
Yeah, and I think yeah, I'm still excited for the event. This kind of seemed like okay, we can get a little more money out of it.
yeah.
But also good on Stephanie Phillips. Hey, shout out. Um, and yeah, that's all I had this week. I only got to a couple. I'm going to catch up this week on some more stuff.
Stephanie Phillips going to be at Terrificon.
Nice. Shout out.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with some of my last week's stuff. I caught up on Aquamen. That series is really good. It brought the Scavenger into it, which is like for Aquaman, that's a D-list villain. So that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty awesome.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun. It's it's not treading anything too new. Like it's the whole idea of the tensions between the surface world and then Atlantis, but I'm still really enjoying it. You talked about this book, but DC versus Vampire Hunters #1. It was awesome. I like the
Mm-hmm.
twist in it. The book's great. I mean, check it out. And then I caught up on Punisher. So I read 2 and 3. It all I'll say is it's okay. They're trying to make Punisher a villain. That's their big turn. Like, let's make him a villain.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to change his whole origin to be like he wasn't created the day his family died. They're trying to make it that he was always like a sociopath and always
That's awful. I hate
like he
that.
killed his first person when he was 10.
Uh, what are they doing?
And with last week I talked about Devil's Reign Omega.
Uh-huh.
It's like, okay, so Punisher is going to be the big bad in the new Daredevil book. Like that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm gonna keep hate reading it, but it's don't if you're not me. Little
Yeah.
Monsters #4. We get some backstory for some of the characters in this one, like how they became vampires. Spoilers: they were bitten by vampires,
What?
and then we get this. A couple of the vampire group that we have is kind of split, and there's some that's trying to help this little human girl find her home. Like they don't want to hurt anybody because they've never tasted blood before. And then the ones that stayed back and started tasting the blood of the human they found, which was the little girl's father, are now off to hunt this little girl. So we've got kind of our conflict now of what we're doing. Art's really great, coloring's awesome. It's a fun book. I really enjoy it.
Nice.
And then my 2 Kickstarter books that came in. So Madril PI #1. I don't know
Okay.
if you see that cover, but so the whole idea here is we have this Madril, basically the monkey with the red ass, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a PI in Toontown. So think of it as him being a PI in the Looney Tunes world.
Okay.
So like the case he has to solve is essentially the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote have been married, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody kills Wile E. Coyote. And
Okay.
like the poor part of town is the black and white part of town.
Oh wow.
And like, yeah, but it's very wordy, very heavy on narrative and dialogue, but it's to set up that old school PI um, feel. And I really enjoyed it. The art's really great too because it's got a very cartoony style.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost has that like Chip and Dale kind of thing where it feels like a real story instead of a cartoonish world.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it. And then former guest of the show, Kevin Delgado, Tough Stuff Goes to Rehab came
Nice.
out.
That's an
I
amazing
got
cover.
both
Yeah.
covers. Did you
Oh
see
yeah.
the homage cover?
Yeah. I love that one. Yeah. It's amazing.
So it's right there in the title. He goes to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
He basically like hits rock bottom when he tries to get his girlfriend back, and
Mm-hmm.
to prove to her, this is a little bit of a stretch to be fair, but it's still funny. To prove
Yeah.
to her that he's not an addict, he's like, I could just take one hit of crack. So he smokes it and then like goes into a bender.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Ends up in rehab, and that's how we get his origin story of like how he's this cat that's like can talk and has this metal arm. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
it was the origin story of that character. And then there's a whole like the mob is trying to push crack on the town, so we got to fight them and everything. It's really good, really well
Yeah.
done. If you like the first issue, you'll like this one. I had a lot of fun with it.
I I also got Caffeinated Hearts, and I just haven't read it yet
What
from
was that?
Kickstarter. The Caffeinated Hearts book.
Oh, I
Yeah,
did
I
not
got that.
do
Yeah.
that one.
Yep. It's cool because it came with a little coffee sample for the comic. Yeah.
Well, Madril PI was 2 issues. I only got to read one, so I'll get to
Oh,
talk to you
nice.
next week about issue 2.
Cool. Awesome.
Mike, that's everything I had this week. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
Well, you can find me at Fortress Chris on Twitter or at fortresscomicnews.com. You can also find the show at fortresscomics_ on Twitter. And remember, everybody, to give us the 5-star review on whatever podcast you use, to like, subscribe, share, comment down below on the YouTube. And if you want to go to the extra mile, patreon.com/fortresscomics. Appreciate you all listening this week, and we'll see you all here next week.
See ya.